Hi, and welcome to our second assignment on advanced databases. Let's meet the team. First, we have myself, Ricardo Knight, Azil Thompson, and Fabian Garden. On the agenda tonight, we have first, the installation and configuration, secondly, Windows installation, and finally, we'll compare the difference between the databases and we'll give what were the challenges we faced. Installation and configurations. First, we'll begin with the Linux Rock installation. On this page, we can see where we can change the keyboard, language support, time and date, the installation destination. We can also select the different security policy and network and host. So basically, this is where the installation commences. Software add-ons for the environment. We'll choose server with GUI, which stands for Graphical User Interface. Using the GUI, we'll get the File Explorer. We'll also be able to use a mouse to click and drag. Additionally, we'll choose Performance Tools, Remote Desktop Clients, and Remote Management for Linux. We have now moved on to the storage configuration. This is where we can configure the storage to have the appropriate disk space for the installation. Thereafter, we'll set the root password. As you can see, the installation now commences. After, we'll get the screen that displays the license information. This represents the completion of the installation.
Before we can run the software, we need to configure the system or set some prerequisites so the software can run successfully on the system. Firstly, we need to check the storage allocation. To do this, we use df-h, and then we see that we have enough RAM and storage available to install the software. Secondly, we need to update the YUM packages, install the Oracle prerequisite, and install Oracle ASM lib and ASM support. Oracle ASM itself comes pre-installed with Oracle Linux 8, and the Oracle prerequisite is just Oracle database pre-installed for 19c, which will set some environment variables, also create a user and create user groups for different sections. So you have the O install and DBA groups and other groups that's needed for the Oracle database. After that, we will create networks. Create virtual networks so both nodes can communicate to each other. Both virtual machines can communicate with each other. Both of them will communicate on the public. Like if you're pinging or anything like that, this communication will be done through the public network. If you want to scan information or get information from the shared disk that we are going to create later down in the presentation, use the scan network. And for DNS, so the machines can know which machine we're really using the home or the original PC IP address. So as I said, I assign the IP address to the public, private version and scan networks, create our user groups and permission, which is already done with the pre-install, and then create an installation directory for the Oracle software. After that, as I said before, most like deep level things are done with the pre-install. So all we have to do is configure Chrome, which is already on the system. So we just need to enable it and make sure it's up on boot time. Then we export the Oracle packages and stop and disable firewall. After that, we will clone node 1. So everything that's done on node 1 will be saved and cloned to node 2, so we don't need to redo these steps on another virtual machine. And after that, we rename it to Node 2, and then we go into the etc/host file and change the configuration from Node 1 to Node 2, so the machine won't loop back to itself when you ping other machines. So if you just leave it raw and just clone it and then went on Node 2 and press and type in ping Node 1, all it would do was use the loopback address, because all it would read itself as Node 1, so you just ping. So as I said, on on Node 1 we ping Node 2, and then on Node 2 we ping Node 1 to make sure that they are communicating successfully. After that, we will create a shareable disk. The software we're using, the software we're using for virtualization is VMware, right? So all we have to do is click on add an hard disk, and go through all the processes. And then all this is as we configure it to be shareable, so both machines can use the disk at the same time and they can read the disk. Then we're going to test visibility, as I said. So I have to configure it as shareable so both machines can pick up the disk. So first, before we can scan for the Oracle ASM library, we need to configure it. So we'll say Oracle ASM configure I, set the driver owner as Oracle, the group to own this drive is DB. As I said, they pre-install already create these groups for us, so we don't need to go through this step by step. Then we're going to say start the ASM library driver on boot, which is yes, and then scan for the ASM disk on boot, which is also Y for yes. And then after that, you tell it the configuration is done, and it is scanned for the disk, as I said, on boot. We need to format the disk. Since we create the ASM library disk, we need to format it. So we'll format the path where this is, so the machine can read and write to it successfully. And then after that, we use the Oracle ASM create disk. In our case, it would be ASM data disk. This is where the information is on, and then point it to NVMe number 2, and then that will add it to the scan disk list. And after that, we will unzip the grid software, which is just on Node 1. We can scan the information from Node 2. That's how we set up the scan thing. So everything is, like as I said, in a grid. So they just communicate, so it acts as one big machine. So it's called a cluster. It just acts as one big machine. So if one node went down, everything will be on both machines, so they can communicate. So we just unzip the software and Node 1 side. As I said, anything needed they can scan for it. So and to unzip, we navigate to the application folder, which in our case is V19 grid. Just unzip the application zip file. After that, we will set up the passwordless SSH configuration. To do this, we need to generate an SSH key, which is SSH-keygen-T for type, and the type encryption is RSA, which is going to generate a private and a public key. In the generation process, we need to enter passwords, leave it empty for no password. Then we'll do that again, just press enter again. Then it saves your private and public key to the directory, show your fingerprint. And then after that, you're going to move that public key to Node 2, where it's going to add the machine. Then do some other configuration so both machines can know each other, and then after that we just can say SSH Node 2 and everything will work fine without any passwords. So for the pre-cluster tool, to make sure that everything is alright, you run coffee -sh and then you state and you say pre because it's not the reinstall, then the crescent, then -n, and then node 1 and node 2. So it tests both nodes. Then if the test pass successfully, the grid setup will show. Then after that, we will export the display according to which user in. If you're in the Oracle user in, Might not need to export the display. But when we did it, we didn't need to export the display. But if you're not getting it, it will tell you that it's not getting display for that. You just export the display and then you launch the installer. Then if everything is up correctly, the installer will launch.
Alright, good day everyone. This is Fabian taking over from where Azzy left off, and I will be presenting on the Oracle Grid and SQL failover cluster configuration. Alright, so the first one that will be installed is the Oracle Grid Infrastructure 19C installer on Windows. Alright, so upon launching the setup file, you will be greeted with this screen, and the first option is to select the configuration. And here you can see that we have decided to configure Oracle Grid as a standalone server, meaning that it is not yet a part of a cluster. Alright, so the next step is to create an automatic storage management disk group, and here you can see that we have selected the drives for that. Next step is to create the ASM password, and we have set one here. Now it moves on to the management options, and we'll just leave that as default. And now we'll select the installation location, which is the M drive under the folder Oracle_grid. And now the installer is doing the prerequisite checks, which is basically just the specifications, which basically means whether or not the hardware and the configuration of the current server meets the requirement for this infrastructure. And here is the installation summary of the options selected throughout this process. And now the installation will begin. And here you can see that it is completed. Alright, so we'll now proceed on the installation of a failover cluster on a Microsoft SQL Server environment. Alright, so upon launch in the SQL Server Installation Center, you are greeted with this screen, and we'll now proceed to the installation section. And here we have opted to install a new SQL Server failover cluster, and now it will basically check for updates and download the setup files required for setting up this cluster. And here it will check the configuration of the Microsoft SQL Server, whether or not these configurations meet the requirements of this cluster installation. And now it will prompt us to accept the end user licensing agreement, and we'll just accept that and move to the next step. And now it is asking us to select the features that we wish to be installed. We'll just leave that to the default settings, as that is all that is required for this project. And now it is asking us to name the cluster instance, and we'll call it SQL Cluster 01. And now it is asking us to select the cluster resource group, and we'll just leave that as the default, which pulls from the previous option. And now we've opted to use this 2 as the cluster disk, and this is now the network summary, which shows us the subnet mask and the IP address, and which was pulled by DHCP. And now this is the server configuration screen, and here is the database engine configuration screen, and we've opted to use the Windows authentication mode, which basically means it uses the credentials used to access the SQL server for this platform as well. And now this is a summary of the options selected throughout this installation process. And here you can see where the installation has begun, and it has been completed successfully with all 4 options and our steps being completed successfully. Alright, so this was for node 1. For node 2 now, since the cluster has already been created, we would just need to add that node to it. Alright, so upon launching the setup file on node 2, we have opted to select to add the node to the SQL Server failover cluster. And now we'll just skip this screen, accept the end user licensing agreement again, and select the cluster that we wish to add this to, which was the cluster created on node 1. And here is the network summary pulled by DHCP again. And here you can see where it has been installed successfully with all 4 options in the green. And here we have accessing the server management tool and the node 1. And here you can see that the failover cluster manager is showing up, which means that the host has been added to a failover cluster. Here you can see the cluster running, and here we can see that both nodes are connected to the cluster.
Now we'll go into the comparison between both databases, and finally we'll give what were our challenges. So what is Microsoft SQL Server? Microsoft SQL Server is a relational database management system developed by Microsoft. It is designed to help organizations store, manage, and retrieve large amounts of data efficiently and securely. SQL Server allows users to create and manage databases, design and implement data structures, and perform various operations such as querying, updating, and deleting data. Now then, what is Oracle Database? Oracle Database is also a relational database management system. This was developed by Oracle Corporation. It is designed to help organizations store, manage, and retrieve large amounts of data efficiently and securely. So, what are the differences between both Microsoft SQL Server and Oracle databases? For Microsoft SQL Server, it has integration with Microsoft applications, also cloud capabilities. It has an high availability and disaster recovery. However, no query optimization. Microsoft SQL Server does not support clustering. Values are changed even before commit. Extensive documentation and support is available for Microsoft SQL Server. Oracle databases. First, it is scalable and performance is very good. Additionally, advanced security features. It is compatible with multiple operating systems. It uses star query optimization. Oracle offers support for cluster configuration, and values do not change before commit. What challenges did we face and how did we handle it as a team? In order for all three installations to run optimally, server-grade equipment is required, but were not at our disposal. Personal computers and virtual machines were used, which came with various challenges that we had to overcome. The team undertaking this task had limited knowledge pertaining to the installation and configuration of these database environments. Therefore, extensive research was required. The time given to complete this undertaking was very limited with consideration to the requirements of the project. However, with the help of our lecturer, Professor Thorpe, it was completed. With that, end this presentation. So on behalf of the team, thank you.